In 2002, a 31-year-old entrepreneur received one of the biggest paychecks Silicon Valley had ever seen. $180 million. Enough to retire. Enough to buy almost anything he wanted. Most people think this is where Elon Musk became rich. But that's not the real story. Because just a few years earlier, he wasn't driving sports cars. He wasn't launching rockets. He wasn't even famous. He was sleeping on the floor of a tiny office, taking showers at a public gym, and trying to convince people to invest in an idea that almost everyone believed would fail. Before Tesla, before SpaceX, before PayPal, there was a struggling startup called Zip2. And without it, none of the companies that made Elon Musk famous would ever have existed. In 1995, the internet was still a mystery. Amazon had just been created. Google didn't exist. Facebook wouldn't exist for another 9 years. Most businesses believed the internet was just a trend. Elon Musk believed it would change everything. He had just arrived in California after leaving Stanford University only 2 days into his PhD. Most people thought he was crazy. Who leaves one of the best universities in the world with no company, no investors, and no backup plan? Elon believed the internet represented the biggest business opportunity of his lifetime. If he waited 4 years to finish his degree, someone else would build the future first. So he walked away. Together with his younger brother Kimball, Elon started a company called Zip2. Their idea sounded simple: help newspapers publish their content online. Today, every newspaper has a website. Back then, most newspaper executives barely knew what the internet was. Selling software to them felt almost impossible. Money disappeared quickly. The brothers couldn't afford an apartment, so they transformed their tiny office into both a workplace and a bedroom. Every evening, they unrolled their sleeping bags beside their desks. Every morning, before clients arrived, they packed everything away as if nothing had happened. They owned just one computer. During the day, it was used for business demonstrations. At night, Elon programmed until sunrise. When he needed a shower, he went to the local YMCA. Looking at Elon Musk today, it's hard to imagine. The richest man on Earth once lived inside his own office. For months, almost nobody cared about Zip2. Investors weren't interested. Customers said no. Again and again. But Elon kept improving the software. Instead of complaining, he listened. Every rejection became another improvement. Slowly, newspapers began signing contracts. Then another. Then another. Soon, the same investors who had ignored Zip2 started calling back. The company finally secured venture capital. It looked like Elon had finally won, but success brought a problem he never expected. The investors believed the company had become too valuable to be managed by a 20-something founder with no executive experience. So they hired an experienced CEO. Imagine creating a company from nothing, sleeping on its floor, building the product yourself, only to watch someone else take your seat. Most founders would have quit. Elon stayed, because he understood something that many entrepreneurs never do. Owning part of an extraordinary company can be worth far more than controlling an ordinary one. It was a painful lesson, but it would prepare him for something much bigger. Because Zip2 wasn't the company that would make Elon Musk famous. It was simply the company that gave him his first chance. And that chance was about to become worth hundreds of millions of dollars. By 1998, Zip2 wasn't just surviving anymore, it was growing. More newspapers were moving online. More businesses wanted digital maps. More investors wanted a piece of the company. The startup that almost nobody believed in was becoming one of Silicon Valley's rising stars. Then, the phone rang. Compaq. One of the biggest computer companies in America. They wanted to buy Zip2, not invest, not partner. Buy the entire business. The offer shocked everyone. $307 million. Just 4 years earlier, Elon had been sleeping beside his desk. Now, the company he built was worth hundreds of millions. When the acquisition closed in 1999, Elon received around $22 million. He was only 27 years old. For most people, that would have been the finish line. He could have bought a mansion. Retired early. Invested in safe companies. Lived comfortably for the rest of his life. Instead, he made the first decision that separated him from almost every entrepreneur. He refused to protect his money. He wanted to multiply it. Most successful founders become investors. Elon became a founder again. Almost immediately, he invested roughly $12 million of his own fortune into a new company. More than half of everything he had. Friends couldn't understand it. You've already won. Why risk it all again? Because Elon wasn't interested in becoming rich. He wanted to build something that didn't exist. His new company was called X.com. The idea sounded almost impossible. An online bank. Today, sending money with your phone takes seconds. In 1999, people barely trusted the internet with their email addresses. Now, Elon wanted them to trust it with their savings. Investors thought it was too ambitious. Banks laughed. Financial experts said customers would never abandon traditional banking. But Elon believed the internet wouldn't just change communication, it would change money itself. Years later, that prediction would prove remarkably accurate. But first, he had to survive. Because somewhere else in Silicon Valley, another startup was chasing exactly the same dream. The company was called Confinity. Unlike X.com, Confinity focused on one simple product: sending money instantly over the internet. Their payment system had a name: PayPal. At first, the two companies competed aggressively. Both wanted to dominate online payments. Both spent millions attracting customers. Neither company was making money. Every new user cost more than they earned. It became a race. Whoever ran out of cash first would disappear. Finally, both sides realized something. Competing was making them weaker. Working together might make them unstoppable. So in early 2000, they merged. It looked like the perfect business deal. Instead, it started a civil war. The merger solved one problem, but created another. The new company had two cultures, two management teams, two visions for the future. Arguments became daily events. Engineers disagreed over technology. Executives fought over strategy. Even small decisions became major conflicts. The biggest battle was simple: who should lead the company? Elon believed X.com should remain at the center. Others believed PayPal was the future. Then, Elon left for Australia on his honeymoon. While he was flying across the Pacific Ocean, the board made its move. They voted to remove him as CEO. Imagine creating a company, investing millions of your own money, winning a merger, then discovering while you're on vacation that you've been fired. For many founders, that would have been the end. Some would have sold their shares immediately. Others would have spent years fighting in court. Elon made a different decision. He stayed silent. He kept every single share he owned. At the time, it looked like he had lost everything. In reality, he had just made the most profitable decision of his career. Because while Elon no longer controlled the company, he still owned a large part of it. And within 2 years, someone would offer $1.5 billion to buy it. Despite the internal conflict, PayPal kept growing. Millions of people were using it every day, especially on eBay. Soon, eBay realized something. If another company bought PayPal first, they could lose the future of online payments. So in 2002, eBay made its move. They bought PayPal for $1.5 billion. Although Elon had been fired as CEO, he had never sold his shares. When the deal closed, he received around $180 million after taxes. 8 years earlier, he had been sleeping on the floor of a tiny office. Now, he had enough money to retire for the rest of his life. But instead of protecting his fortune, he decided to risk almost all of it again. On two companies called Tesla and SpaceX, that decision would change the world. Most people think Elon Musk became rich because of Tesla. The truth is, Tesla made him famous. PayPal made him wealthy. Without Zip2, there is no X.com. Without X.com, there is no PayPal. And without PayPal, there is no Tesla, no SpaceX, no reusable rockets. Sometimes, the company everyone forgets is the one that makes everything else possible. If you enjoy discovering the untold business stories behind the world's biggest fortunes, subscribe to Goldmind, because the next billion-dollar deal might already be happening today.